protecting Main Street from Wall Street. It's Chris Hoffman with Money Unleashed.
How much money do you put into your checking account from work on a month-to-month basis? It has a high probability that with your investable assets, we can replace that paycheck.
It's time to put you back in control of your money.
You've worked for 35 years. It's time for you to not stress. It's time for you to enjoy and live the retirement you want to live.
It's Money Unleashed with Chris Hoffman.
Welcome into the Money Unleashed podcast with Chris Hoffman. We've got a great discussion for you today, and we appreciate you checking out the show. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. With that said, let's jump into the show. Now, this year, more Americans than ever are reaching retirement age, but higher living costs and rising healthcare expenses, among other things, have many folks rethinking what retirement really looks like. So whether you're preparing to call it a career or you're already enjoying life in retirement, it's a crucial time to review that financial game plan we like to talk about. Fidelity dug into what people are focused on and worried about when it comes to retirement in 2025, Chris, and I thought I'd get your take on some of these topics.
All right, sounds good. Fire away.
All right, here's the first one. Confidence is shaky and inflation is a big culprit. According to Fidelity's latest state of retirement planning study, just 67% of people in their pre-retirement years feel confident about their future, and that's down from last year. The main reason is inflation. Everything costs more these days. Healthcare has surprised a lot of retirees with how quickly those expenses add up as well. But let's start with inflation. We know it's going to be there. It's going to be a factor, but we can plan for it, can't we?
Absolutely. And you need to plan around it with your income plan, which will include not only inflation adjustments and how to take advantage of higher interest rates, but it also will focus on how much money you can keep that you make, meaning how do we avoid taxes? So we've got kind of two sides to this. Inflation could eat away at our purchasing power, but if we're able to save on taxes, that might balance it out a little bit.
Yeah.
But certainly inflation is a concern, right? There's a lot of hand-wringing going on in the political landscape and in the economic landscape because we could see a spike in inflation depending on what ultimately happens with these tariffs. We certainly, I believe, we'll see additional pressure on inflation if the Fed begins to lower interest rates. So there's a big-time difference between the two sides. The political side definitely want lower interest rates because they want to spur economic growth. Economic growth for companies, economic spending for all of us. So they want lower interest rates, more investments of companies, more investments by us into mortgages, into leasing cars, et cetera, et cetera. But if there's too much money being pumped through the economy, eventually that day will roost because we have $34, $36, $38 trillion in debt, and inflation could be a problem. It will only be a problem if you don't plan.
Right.
If you stay with your current portfolio and inflation starts to take off, you're going to find yourself saying, hey, I made 10% in the stock market, but inflation basically wiped out all of those gains because my standard of living, I did not want it to go down. So that points to developing a rock-solid income plan with tax strategies. If you're able to do that, you can take advantage of some of these inflationary increases with higher interest rate fixed income products. Also, dividends of the aristocrats typically outperform the inflation rates year over year over year. Meaning, if your current company that you've invested money in equity investing, has a dividend, they're going to raise that dividend by a certain percentage year over year over year. Typically, the aristocrats do. That dividend increase typically outpaces the increase in inflation. So it's a very nice inflation hedge. So between dividend stocks, fixed income, and finding the best combination of those, you shouldn't sacrifice growth in your portfolio to generate the income you need to offset any inflationary pressures you get moving forward.
So that's a little bit about neutralizing the effect of inflation. We like that. And 70% of those folks that were polled by Fidelity, as I mentioned, said retirement is going as planned. That's good to hear. But many admitted that they just didn't realize how expensive health care would be. For starters, Medicare isn't covering as much as expected for many of these folks. The average retiree is spending around $165,000 on medical costs, according to this research. So How can someone make sure that they're really prepared for that in their retirement plan?
Yeah, so two pieces of information based on what you just said. 70% of those polled by Fidelity said retirement was going as planned. Well, of course it is. The market's gone up. I mean, all you need is one 20% down year or 30% down year for that number to change. So
Very different result.
That's a very liquid percentage, I think.
Okay.
Now, Medicare isn't covering as much as expected. Very true. The average spending, it's around $165,000. So how do you make sure you're really prepared for the retirement plan? Well, again, we break it down into these decades, the first decade, second decade, third decade, possibly into a fourth decade of retirement life. And you've got to be prepared for the changes you will see decade over decade over decade, because there are changes. When you first retire, you want to go crazy with hobbies, enjoyment, travel, spending, doing whatever you want to do. Those are the go-go years. So we're going to peel out growth, use that from the portfolio, preserve principal. We're going to generate an income plan for you that pays for not just basic living expenses, but also for that $20,000 event I talk about every year. So once you've got your income plan built with tax strategies, then you've got it in your financial plan. Then when the market goes up 20% and you've made $200,000 for the year, if you and the husband or you and the wife say, hey, we want to go on a worldwide trip, or we want to buy a new car, or we want to sell this house and buy another house, you've got a bunch of money you can use without invading your original principal. So that's the key. It's preparing the right income plan and generating enough income from that to offset inflation and live comfortably, and then let your growth pay you for the big fun stuff that you want to do on your bucket list.
And again, all this research is coming from Fidelity's latest State of Retirement Planning study that was conducted this year. And it also pointed out that there's a particular group that's feeling the pressure, and that's Gen Xers. And those are folks turning 45 to 60 this year, and they're really feeling that retirement squeeze. Just over half believe they'll be able to retire on their own terms, and that's important. And about a third think that they'll need to keep working in retirement to supplement their income. And it's a tough balancing act because many are raising kids while also caring for aging parents, all while trying to build a secure future for themselves and their family. Chris, this is an awfully tough place to be in, isn't it? Because you're being pulled in several different directions at this age.
It's terribly tough. I mean, I'm 57. I'll be 58 by the end of this year. So I'm in that early stage of the Gen Xers. I was one of the first one of them. And they left us high and dry. There are largely no defined benefit programs anymore. There are largely no pensions anymore. And nobody talks about income planning inside the 401k. So we've kind of been just dropped on an island and told, grow your money, grow your money, grow your money. Wonder why the government would want us to grow our money. Obviously, they want it in the stock market to make them look good while they're in office. And it's a big conversation. It's how'd the stock market do under your presidency, right? No president wants to have a down market over their 4 years. So they're pushing hard for investments in stocks. And everybody's ignoring what is going to be important the day that you quit, which is you lose your paycheck. You need to replace it. So pensions aren't available. Defined benefit plans are largely not available. Social Security doesn't pay enough, and that has people concerned. So the sooner, folks, you can begin, and I'm not talking about changing your portfolio. I'm talking about knowing if you retired in 5 years, here would be the recommendation on how we would move you toward retirement over time. This would not be an exercise of, you need to generate $60,000, $70,000, $80,000 from your portfolio in retirement, so we're going to change it immediately. If you're not retired yet, there's no reason to do that, but we can forecast today, and then we can take a look at if we prepare a true, robust income plan that can satisfy your retirement needs, what does that look like, and how much of your portfolio would need to change to do it? That's part of the process, and if you get started early, you can bite it off in small little pieces as we go along.
Now, to make matters more complicated for those Gen Xers we're talking about, the ones trying to take care of family and live life and plan or save for retirement, they do not benefit from the steady pension that previous generations relied on, as Chris just talked about. That means personal savings from 401ks, IRAs, and other plans will have to do more of that heavy lifting. In other words, they could use a little bit of extra help and additional strategy to keep that money working and growing and protect it from things like unnecessary taxation in retirement, right?
Yeah, you've got to take your 401k and kind of disassemble it. I mean, there's not much to disassemble. It's stocks and bonds. But you've got to take a look at it and say, okay, if I took my $1 million 401k and it was all in cash today, would I build it differently moving forward? Would I build it with more income in mind? Would I build it with more growth in mind? Would I want additional layers of protection in it? Obviously, we're not going to cash out everything in your 401k and turn it into cash, but you should start with that. We should assess what you have to see how far away we are from the optimal design of your investments, which goes into optimizing your retirement plan. But if we started with the portfolio X-ray, that'll give you an indication of the goods and the bads inside of your current mix. Then we can start with an exercise that says, all right, if we had $1 million and it was all in cash, how would we build it? Then you could look at the differences between the two and kind of mirror them up or start moving toward this new design to make sure you're securing your retirement. That would be a great exercise. So the step is easy, folks. We start with that portfolio X-ray. If you call us at 404-341-6767 or even go online to unleashyourmoney.com, you can see the portfolio or 401k X-ray button. Click that, set an appointment with us. We'll reach out to you Monday or Tuesday, tell you exactly what to expect from that meeting. We'll do all the work. You get back to your job and your family and you do everything. And once we're ready, we'll have you in for about a half an hour, 45-minute meeting. We'll walk you through this portfolio X-ray and give you a copy of it to take with you. All of that is free of charge.
That number again is 404-341-6767. That's 404-341-6767. Or you can sign up at unleashyourmoney.com. Just click on that portfolio X-ray box right there. Chris Hoffman is an investment advisor representative of Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor and affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and Hoffman Financial Group are affiliated under common ownership. Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosures of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A, page 4, for additional information. The Hoffman Financial Group and WSB are not affiliated. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. This information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a professional specializing in the field of tax, legal, accounting, or investments regarding the applicability of this information for their situation. Any client experiences discussed during the show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments will fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone. Index or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A, item 4, for additional information. Hoffman Financial Group is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Insurance licensed in Georgia, number 163546.